Boker Tov. So this morning, I mean to scare you. I know that sounds strange, but fear is a little bit of a healthy thing sometimes. Let's face it, God wants us to fear Him, sometimes known as awe. That's the one thing to fear. But I'm going to talk about sort of a worldly situation, which is no doubt spiritually related, but I'm going to focus a little bit on the more practical worldly side and build a case for some fear. And maybe it does have messianic overtones, undertones, connections, but I'm going to start certainly with the more worldly aspects to it. And that's what I have in mind for the next few minutes here with you. You've heard this. Most of what I'm going to say, you've probably heard. So I don't know if it really matters that it comes from me. What's important is that you pay attention to this whole thing. It may not be obvious to you. You may not know it. But America has crossed a really significant threshold, and so has the world. Now, you've kind of heard what I was talking about before, but I'm telling you, it's never been this way before. It's a fact. It's never been, we've never had this debt situation that we have today. So we have gone from, a debt to GDP ratio of 0. I mean, the government didn't start even doing federal income tax till the 1800s. But the point is, we've had, virtual balance sheet years, and we've had a lot of years of deficits, but they've been, relatively speaking, small. However, for the last, really from basically about Bush to heavily Obama, and then with COVID and digging out of the Great Recession, it's been greatly added to. And then now with Biden, it's off the charts. In 1 year, off the charts. And the point is, we've gone from a debt to GDP ratio of generally perceived to be a safe number, very safe number in the 50s, on upwards of over 130%. Now, the debt that we count leaves out a lot of off-the-books elements to it. So the true debt is substantially higher than the $30 trillion that they, so to speak, publish. So when you add in other current liabilities, when you add in the deficits that we're running in Medicare and Social Security with the demographics, the numbers go up unbelievably. And America's never, not even during World War II, we've never had this situation in America before. This is a first. And it's obscenely high. And they're not really talking about it. You could watch NBC, CBS, ABC, and they'd have you more worried about everything else because it's a distraction. It partly is a distraction, because if we really concentrated on what is going to kill us, it's the debt. Your chances of dying from COVID are minuscule. Kind of hurt doesn't mean it can't happen, but it's minuscule. Whereas the tragedy that can befall us with our debt in America is not only enormously terrible, it can lead to horrible events, and great depressions and great economic disasters have often led to really other tragic outcomes. And right now we are at a point where we've crossed the line. The debt is not sustainable, which is to say we cannot tax, the economy can grow at this point. It's not going to grow enough unless it grows ridiculously with hyperinflation to go with it. It's not going to grow enough to make our debt be sustainable. And at some point, there will be a debt crisis. And when that debt crisis happens, when the people focus on it, the consequences, the ripple effects, are going to shatter what you know, and could shatter your life, could shatter your job, could shatter a country, can shatter the world. Now, you could say, oh, that sounds apocalyptic, and the sky is falling. Aren't you exaggerating? And the answer is, it is potentially apocalyptic, and the sky can be falling in this case. So when, things seem okay until they're not. And then there can be a slide, but that slide can result in a panic. And the panic can be exacerbated because there's a lack of leadership and a lack of trust. And we have that today. We truly have a lack of leadership and a lack of trust. And we also have this tremendous divisiveness that Biden has instilled in America that was really there before, all the way back to God knows when. Partisanship has been eating away at our country's fabric for really a century, but it's gotten so bad, so bad. If you look at the things they said about Reagan, the things they said about Bush, the things they said about Clinton, all through, it's every president, the Democrats and Republicans have been at each other's throats and at hominies. It's become personal, you might say. The point is, it's never been worse. And so when things go bad, the blame arrows are going to be going, and the hatred and the vitriol is going to be off the charts. Because when you have this great tragedy, somebody's going to want to blame somebody. And the crisis is so deep, the blame will be parallel in terms of depth and viciousness. Okay? Now, what's going to trigger this? There will be a catalyst. There's any number of possible catalysts. It could be environmental disasters. It could be geopolitical types of things like wars. It could be, so to speak, a revelation in the financial markets that kind of a waking up. There's all sorts of reasons why this could happen, could be triggered, and when it starts, it can go very fast. It can go quickly, alarmingly, surprisingly, frighteningly fast. So, without going into all the details, and you could just poo-hoo and write this whole video off. You probably turned it off if that's you. That's your attitude. But I'm just here to tell you that my instincts are that we are sitting on the cusp or verge of something that will make the Great Recession that we recently gone through look like a picnic. Now, what's the implication? The implication is, are you prepared? Now, this is a challenge. It's a challenge for me. I've got investments. Those investments could be made nearly worthless. And so it is with you too. If you've got high debt, your debts could crumble you. You could be taken down by debt. There's all sorts of ways in which it's hard to really dodge the kind of financial calamity that I'm talking about. But you can at least think about it. Now, one of the things that I think is a theme for what you try to do is you try to think about how you can be self-sufficient. Because you won't be able to depend on things. You won't be able to depend on your job. You won't be able to depend on your bank account, per se. You won't be able to depend on a lot of things. I won't be able to depend on income. You won't be able to depend on parental assistance, let's say. So you have to think about how you can be prepared. And self-sufficiency, to my mind, is the way. Now, there's all sorts of ways in which one can be self-sufficient. That's a topic in and of itself. But if any of this makes any sense, I would just say to you in a positive, friendly, supportive way, think about how you can prepare yourself. If you want to talk about it, give me a call. I'll be in the boat with you. We're all going to be in this boat together if what I foresee happens. What does it lead to? That's a bigger story. And in that respect, part of the way you prepare yourself is on a spiritual level. How do you prepare yourself for calamities? I'll leave it at that. 10 minutes. I want to say, have a good end of the week. It'll be Shabbat very soon, and you can rest on the idea. Alrighty, take care.